Are you ready for another night at Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria? Then summon up all your courage. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 aims to take the successful video game adaptation to another level. Which iconic characters await us? And how will the story continue? This video will update you on the latest news. One thing is for sure, Part 2 will need to put in a lot of effort to surpass the success of its predecessor. After all, with box office takings of almost $300 million, it was the most lucrative movie of all time for the horror production company Blumhouse. Let's recall. In the first part, we meet Mike Schmidt, who takes a job as a night guard in a rundown diner. He soon discovers that the animatronics inside are possessed by the souls of deceased children and finds himself in a desperate struggle for survival. Although critics were rather unimpressed with the first movie, fans were mostly satisfied. The reactions were correspondingly positive when lead actor Josh Hutcherson officially confirmed in January of this year that preparations for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 had begun. The exciting part, of course, is what the sequel will be about. We are also going to discuss the events in the games, so if you want to avoid any spoilers, we recommend skipping straight to the next section. In fact, there are already some clues regarding the plot. Director Emma Tammy mentioned in an interview with Variety magazine that the planned sequels will be strongly based on the individual parts of the video game series. Rumor has it that Mike's brother Garrett will play a central role. His soul is said to be in Balloon Boy, a character who made his first appearance in the second game and provided plenty of scares. It is also expected that other new characters will be introduced. At the end of the first movie, a distorted voice gives clues that result in the phrase, "Come find me." Also, the song My Grandfather's Clock can be heard, which is obviously familiar to fans of the game series. In the games, this melody fends off one of the nastiest villains in the entire Five Nights at Freddy's universe. We are, of course, referring to the Puppet. Its introduction as a possible antagonist in Part 2 could link to the video game and is likely to arouse enthusiasm among fans. Moreover, the production published a post showing the shape of an animatronic head, which strongly points to the character Toy Chica. This character first featured in Part 2 of the video game and is described as a more child-friendly and improved version of Chica the Chicken. However, she is by no means particularly child-friendly, as she is every bit as bloodthirsty and sadistic as her peers. Recently, the first teaser poster for Five Nights at Freddy's 2 was finally published. It shows another new character. Just like Toy Chica, Toy Freddy is a kind of cutesy version of the original. We can assume that William Afton will play a far greater role than in the first movie. He was a co-founder of Fazbear Entertainment, and together with Henry Emily, ran the company Afton Robotics, which produced animatronics and endoskeletons. The company also ran several pizzerias where the animatronics performed stage shows. On the surface, Afton presented himself as a friendly businessman, but in reality, he was a cruel serial killer. His victims were mainly children, whom he murdered with the help of his animatronics and then hid their corpses in the machines. As the bodies were never found, he escaped punishment. In Part 1, however, Afton appeared under an alias, Steve Raglan. This allowed him to manipulate people like Mike Schmidt and pick them as victims. When he died, Afton merged with one of his own half-animatronic costumes. His soul was then sealed into the suit, and his body merged with the machine. The menacing character Springtrap resulted from this fusion. This allowed him to live out his murderous desires. However, it is not yet known whether this will actually be the subject of the Five Nights at Freddy's 2 film. The main characters from the predecessor also return for the sequel. Among them are Josh Hutcherson as Mike and Matthew Lillard as William Afton. Piper Rubio will once again take on the role of Abby, while Elizabeth Lale plays Vanessa. Alongside the familiar cast, some influencers are also expected to make an appearance again. This time, Mark Fishback, aka Markiplier, who was unable to take part in the first movie due to scheduling reasons, will also finally be involved. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 will once again be directed by Emma Tammy. Legendary horror icon Jason Blum is overseeing the project again as a producer. Filming has been ongoing since October 2024, as confirmed by Matthew Lillard in an interview on the YouTube channel JB and Millie. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 will hit movie theaters on December 5th, 2025. If you are looking to bridge the waiting time a bit more, you might want to check out the new game Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic, which will likewise be released next year. Well, if you ask us, we are carefully optimistic. There don't seem to be any major changes to the team or the concept compared to Part 1. The sequel should thus offer the same as its predecessor, a detailed realization of the games, which will be particularly interesting for fans of the game series, with plenty of hidden Easter eggs. However, if you weren't already impressed by the first film, you probably shouldn't hope for anything special from Part 2 either. But perhaps there are enough Freddy fans to make another hit movie. In that case, we can certainly expect a few more Five Nights at Freddy's movies in the coming years, given the extensive game material. What do you think? Was the first movie your cup of tea, or was it more of a flop? And what details from the games do you really wish to see in the sequel? Let us know in the comments, and like the video if you enjoyed our little preview.